Okay, so this video has the Raspberry Pi on the left-hand side, and we're running a virtual machine. This is using VMware Workstation, Workstation 16 Pro with Ubuntu 20 with ROS installed on top of it. And on the left-hand side is the native Raspberry Pi OS, no Docker container, just native here. So first thing, let's just make sure nothing is running. So we get unable to communicate with master. Okay, so that means ROS core is not running. Now, we need to do this in a particular order because we want to run A* on the right-hand side, but on the right-hand side in Ubuntu, we do not run ROS core because it's connecting remotely. So for it to connect, it needs something to connect to. But if we just launch that ROS launch without A* on the left, then it'll run first. It'll want to drive and navigate the car, and it won't have an A* to do it. So we need to launch things in a particular order. So first thing, let's do this. Let's make sure that we don't have so A* is disabled. You can see it's commented out, so we're not going to run that there. So first thing, and if you already have ROS core running, you can do ROS launch, and it's fine. It sees it's already open and it uses it. Versus if it's not running, it will launch it. So we have ROS core running here. So you saw before when it wasn't running, and if I did ROS node list, nothing happened. Now I do ROS node list, and you can see it's communicating over the network. And that is set up in this. So if I do echo ROS master URI, it's connecting to Raspberry Pi.LAN. And if I do the same over here, you can see they're both connecting to the same machine. So we can see how that's networked. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to do ROS CD PyCar. We're going to go into the source folder. And we're going to do ROS run PyCar A* search ampersand to put it in the background. And now A* search is running. So let's just verify it. ROS node list here. ROS node list. So we launched it on the virtual machine, and yet it shows up on the Raspberry Pi. So we can go a little bit further with this ROS node command. Let's say we're going to go ROS node info A*, and we can just hit tab and it'll complete it. This is what's interesting. You can see right here is that we've got contacting node ubuntu.lan. So this we can see where this one's running. So again, if we do same thing, ROS node info A*, right? That's this machine. So if I do, ifconfig, I can see we've got an IP address. And so I believe that's probably the IP address of this machine over here. But we can see we've got the ubuntu.lan, so we can see where a node is running in terms of which machine it's running on. Okay, so now that that's running, now we can do ROS launch. We can say ROS launch, pycar.launch, put that in the background. And what's going to happen is, you can't see it on camera, but now the ultrasonic sensor, now you see on the right-hand side, it made an attempt, or it made a call over to A*. You can see this. Number of walls, A* search complete, constructing path. So we can see that it made that call. So now watch, if we do ROS node list, now all of a sudden we have all these different things running on here. So here's another cool thing we can do. Let's open a new terminal. And what we're going to do is we're going to run something here called ROS-QT. Let's see. Actually, we need to be in the right folder for that. So let's go to, and we're going to go to bin. Sorry, not ROS-QT, RQT. So we need to be in the PyCar folder, and we're going to run RQT. Let me show you what RQT does. So Qt is a popular UI system for just doing UI development inside of Linux. And you can see, so this RQT, ROS-QT, is an extension of that, and it lets you build Qt-based applications that run in ROS, but it actually has one built in here. So what's kind of neat here is that you can come in here to plugins, and you can come into topics, topic monitor, and when you do topic monitor, then that's on the left-hand side. So I can see the different topics in here. Motor commands, camera object, I can see those things. You can also do a node graph. So we can say, some of these are already running because we ran this before. So if I do close, it's going to close the node graph. But if you go in here to plugins and you go to introspection node graph, let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger. So what you can see here is all the different nodes that are running. Ultrasonic, A-star search, camera, and you can see how it's running, how information gets passed between them. So we have a slash camera, which if I go back here, ROS node list, slash camera. Slash camera talks over the topic camera object. So if we do ROS topic list, we can see camera object, ROS node info camera. You can see it tells us that camera node publishes on slash camera object of message type PyCar camera, and we can see that over here. But what we can see is what's talking to what's subscribing to what. So I can see camera publishes the topic camera object, and I can see that main is subscribed to it. Okay, I can see that over here too. Topic, I can see topic this, slash main is a subscriber. And you can see that main is also publishing motor commands. And we can see that motor commands are being subscribed to by motor subscriber. And motor subscriber also is subscribing to slash encoder. So let's do this. We can say again, ROS node list, ROS node info, and let's do motor sub. And we can kind of see that reflected here too. We can see that the motor subscriber, and you can see a lot of this information is reflected over here. What it subscribes to motor commands and encoder. Right here, motor commands, encoder. But this just gives you this nice visualization to be able to see right now running what's connecting to what. So we can see is that right now nothing is subscribing to ultrasonic. Although when things get started and the program kicks off, then you might see ultrasonic publishing. So let's say ROS node info ultrasonic. And I can see that there's nothing subscribing to that right now. Things, the car gets moving, it's going to something subscribes to it, and then you'll see that being updated. But you can see this being updated in kind of real time as things are moving and as the car's moving. Separate from that, we can see processes running. So I can see that, this is using, I can see A-star search server, what processes are running. So if we, and then I can also see what services. Now we only have one service, although, let's see. So actually ultrasonic server does show up in here because I guess it is set up as a service. And then everything has a get and set loggers. So you can mostly ignore those. That's for doing things like something called ROS bag, which is a way to record this stuff. And we can close this additional topic monitor. And then you can kind of play around. There's other things in here, other visualizations. Some of this other stuff that we're not really using right now. There's a lot more functionality. Just within ROS. So this is just sort of touching the surface of it. We don't use actions, but if you are using an action, you could go ahead and see that in here. So let's go ahead and close this. So you can see when I come back into this opt ROS noetic bin folder, this is all of the different commands for ROS. You see ROS core. If you want to, you see ROS launch. Some of these we've already covered. ROS message we covered before. ROS node, ROS run, ROS service, ROS topic, RQT we just covered, and then you'll see ROS bag. ROS bag. This is a way to actually subscribe to different messages and store them in a file. So if you wanted to record a bunch of sensor data and then you wanted to be able to play that back later, you could. So for example, we've got the Unity visualization. Maybe you record the car running, you record all that sensor data, you save it into a ROS bag, and then you say, well, I'm going to go ahead and play that back later. And what it does is it basically subscribes to everything, and then when you play it back, it basically then publishes all that data back into the system. So other subscribers would be able to listen to it, and just like if it was published the first time from the, published the first time from the the actual nodes and from that data. So you might have heard that. So the car kind of started running again, and you can see it pops back up and showed it made another call there. So a lot of these other ones, RQT graph. So there's another one called RViz. So RViz is going to do some similar stuff to Unity. I'm not sure if it's even going to run here, but yeah, so it does. So this is where you could put a model of your car. It just doesn't. It didn't give for what we wanted as much flexibility, and it doesn't. It isn't quite as easy in some ways as Unity, but Unity isn't built from the ground up for ROS, so it took some steps to get there. But inside of here, you can do something called transforms, and basically that's the ability to, when you start getting into where you have multiple joints and you want to be able to animate multiple jointed robots, you can do a lot of the visualization for that and a lot of the subscribing to different topics for that, or camera feeds. You can do a lot of that inside of RViz. So this, go ahead and wrap the video up here. Again, you can see, just to kind of recap, we have A-Star running in the virtual machine on the PC, and then on the Raspberry Pi we have camera, encoder, main, motor sub, ultrasonic. Those are all running directly on the Raspberry Pi. Thanks for watching.